to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
To begin the evening, we have some presentations. The first one will be by school perceptions on the staff survey and senior surveys that were completed this spring.
We have Sue on the speakerphone from School Perception. Sue, can you hear us?
I can. Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
We're ready for you.
All right. Can you see the screen okay with my presentation?
Yep.
Yes.
All right. And everybody can hear?
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. All right. So my assignment for tonight is to go over the results of that staff survey that we conducted this spring. If you have forgotten who we are, we've done some referendum work with you, but we've been in business since 2002, and we work with school districts in Wisconsin and really all over the country, gathering data for the sake of process improvement within schools. And one of the products that many school districts use is the staff engagement survey. And the reason that districts choose to use it is we know that if our staff are more engaged, that does result in an increased student engagement, and ultimately higher student engagement means better student outcomes. So ultimately the goal of why we're all in the business of education. So your survey was conducted in late April, early May of this year, of 2019, and all staff members received that survey invitation to take the survey. You had 82 people on your staff that responded to the survey, so a participation rate of 65%. So we'll typically see between 65 and 75% participation rate in a typical district. So you're kind of hanging out where everybody else is there. We asked the folks who responded to the survey to tell us a little bit about themselves. So we want to know what building it is they work in. You can see here 42% were at your elementary school, 37% at the high school, 13% at the middle school. And then we said, all right, what best describes your position? And we asked this question because on the back end of our data, we can, if you want, do some comparable data, and we can start to compare classroom teachers in an elementary school with other classroom teachers around the state or country to kind of, if something pops in a question and we kind of wonder, how is it that your staff compare to others? We want to be able to look at that and see that information, and we're able to do that within our data mining. We want to know how many years folks worked in the district. Again, this allows us, if we see a question that might pop, we can pull the data apart and say, is it our newbies that are struggling, or is it folks that have been with us a bit? So you can see here, 28% of your employees that responded to the survey have been with you more than 10 years. 18% are newbies. They've joined you in just the last year or two. We asked your employees to say, check what are the highest priorities that the district should have as far as making some improvements. Where should we focus our efforts? And so we've highlighted the five that rose to the top. So your staff are saying we should focus our efforts on better preparing students for life after high school, developing innovative programs to improve student learning, providing additional intervention and support services for struggling students, providing additional counseling, psychologists, and social work services, and providing training and development opportunities for staff to enhance their skills. And then really just behind that was the opportunity to expand or provide hands-on project-based learning opportunities for your students. And anytime there's things that rise to the top, there's things that have to fall to the bottom in a list. And certainly your staff, it doesn't tell me that they don't value your AP and honors courses, but perhaps it's not something they feel needs attention as far as making improvements. So now this goes through every question on the survey. Don't worry, I won't read all of them, but I want to explain to you what the data looks like. So we've provided the question, then here is the percentage of your employees across all work groups that strongly agree or agree with the statement. Next is a simple average. So if everybody had said strongly agree, you'd see a 5. If everyone said strongly disagree, you would see a 1. Then we've gone ahead and we've compared your school district to school districts like yours. So we're looking for districts that have taken the survey, likely in Wisconsin, but have similar size and demographics to your school district. So our software does that comparison. So we look at the average of those 10 schools to that particular question, and then we say, how is Sevastopol doing compared to similar districts? So again, you focus on this and say, all right, this is where we're at, but then you might think, well, is that good? Is that bad? Where are we compared to other districts? So here we'll see that difference. Because we're using a 5-point Likert scale, we consider statistically significant at 0.2. So therefore, anything you see here in the difference category of a 0.2 or greater to the positive, we say you're doing better than similar school districts. If you see a 0.2 or greater to the negative, then we say you're perhaps struggling on that particular item more than similar school districts. So the bigger the number, the more we celebrate. The bigger the negative number, the more perhaps we need to be concerned and ask questions as far as an opportunity for process improvement. So here you can see 59% of your employees feel that there's a process for evaluating the effectiveness of new initiatives. You're doing better than comparable groups. Additionally, you're doing better than comparable groups when we're saying that the district's committed to making needed improvements as they are identified. 71% of your employees feel that the district has a culture of open dialogue. Again, real positive data here. When we look at these questions regarding student achievement, overall, the school offers high-quality academic programs. 98% of your employees strongly agree or agree with that statement, as do 98% of your employees feel that the academic needs of students are being met. Again, when we look compared to similar districts doing really well, staff discipline is handled in a consistent manner by all staff. 47% are strongly agreeing or agreeing with that statement. I'll tell you, I've made this presentation in districts where this number on this particular statement has been 12%, 16%, 18%. So when I see a 47% there, you're doing quite well. 69% of your employees feel that the social and emotional needs of your students are being met. 75% of your employees say that students do have access to additional support when they need it. So again, you kind of glance over here and say, really, compared to school districts like us, we're doing quite well as our staff reflect on student achievement. Regarding engagement, 82% of your employees say it would take a lot to get them to leave the district. 83% feel that the amount of work they're asked to do is reasonable. That's where we're kind of looking at workload and saying, are we asking too much of you, or are you capable of getting the job done and feel that it's fair? So again, real positive there. 94% of your employees say that they would recommend the district to others seeking employment. 96% report they're proud of their job and they find it personally satisfying. And celebrate this one here, 100% of your employees strongly agree or agree with the statement that their work contributes to the success of the district. So strong sense of engagement there. Regarding communication, 86% of your employees feel that their school or department communicates effectively to them. 76% believe that issues regarding the district clearly communicates with them about important issues. 79% report that they're kept informed about matters important to their work. 77% say that your school board policies and procedures affecting them are available and clearly communicated. 62% are reporting that they feel comfortable sharing ideas and opinions. So again, first time we see this thing kind of pop or move over the needle, if you will, of the statistical significance is negative, but really you're hanging right just over the bubble of where you should be, with this also looking real good up there. Now we asked some great, good, fair, poor as far as how would you rate communication from the following department. So now this is a 4-point Likert scale. If everybody has said great, you see a 4. If everybody said 4, you see a 1. So 92% of your employees are satisfied with the communication they're getting from the Technology Services Department, 77% from your district admin, 88% from their building leadership, 87% from their custodians, maintenance, 59% are feeling that they're getting decent communication from you, the school board, 74% from transportation, and 76% of your staff know what's on the lunch menu. So they're comfortable with the information they're getting from food service. Regarding just some general culture questions, again, you can see real positive here. 81% feel that your district does a good job of assimilating new employees. 85% say that their school or department operates as a team. 91% say that the school works hard to find ways to improve. 96% feel that their coworkers would step up and help them when they have a heavy workload. So again, real positive data there regarding your culture. We asked, well, what do you think of the academic expectations we set for our students? 81% of your employees are saying, yep, we're just where we should be. 12% too low, with 7% saying we might be pushing them a bit too hard. Regarding work environment, 96% are reporting that they're satisfied with the technology that's available to them. 97% report that they feel safe regarding their interactions with students at work. 88% feel that they've received the training they need to do their job effectively. And 94% say that they've got the flexibility to implement their what it is they offer students in the way that they believe is most effective. Again, extremely positive data here, and when we look at comparable groups, you're really doing quite well. There's 2 sets of slides to this question set. 94% here are saying that they've got the materials and supplies to do their job effectively. 87% report that they are supported by leadership when they make a decision. 88% say they're satisfied with the technology that's available to them. 96% report that they feel safe in their interactions with adults at work. And 80% are satisfied with how buildings and grounds are maintained. Again, real nice data there. We asked some questions regarding how employees reflect on their own overall health and wellness and how they take care of themselves. We know that how a person, the behaviors that they have as far as their own individual wellness and taking care of themselves does impact the job that they do in the classroom or whatever other role they have in your school. 86% are saying that, okay, the pace of implementing new initiatives in the district is appropriate. We know there's a correlation between new initiatives and perhaps stress, and that's why we asked that question there. 84% report that they manage their stress well. 76% of your employees say that they are able to sustain that healthy work-life balance. 72% report they get enough sleep. 76% say that they're engaging in 30 or more minutes of physical activity 3 or more times a week. And 84% report that they eat healthy. So again, your employees report that they are taking good care of themselves. 81% of your employees feel that they receive recognition and credit when they do a good job. 83% say that they receive meaningful and timely feedback that helps them to be a better employee. 77% report that your professional development days are well organized. And so again, real nice data there as far as support from your employees. Compensation and benefits. Look at these differences here. 85% of your employees report they're satisfied with their pay. 78% believe that their pay is fair in relationship to their job responsibilities. 75% say that your pay practices are administered consistently for all employees. That one in some districts will jump when districts struggle to find, hard to fill certifications, and so they hire right outside of the salary schedule. That is a challenge in some districts. 83% of your employees believe that their benefits are competitive with similar jobs they find elsewhere, and 81% report that they're satisfied with their benefits. So when we look at your employees from a compensation and benefit standpoint, they are doing really, really quite well. Very satisfied. Strong data as far as their feedback on building leadership, consistent when administering policies concerning employees. 87% strongly agree with that statement. 92% support that they trust their building leadership, and 95% say that their principal is an effective leader. We asked department leadership. You can see only 4 employees answered those questions. So it looks like 2 of them believe that their supervisor was an effective leader, that they trust their leadership, and department leadership is consistent when administering policies concerning employees. All right? So that was some customized questions, so we don't have comparable data there. Regarding district administration, again, it was very, very strong. 91% report that district administration is doing what it takes to make the district successful. 83% strongly agree that the district admin is consistent when administering policies concerning employees. It was 84% saying they're responsive to the major concerns of employees. 94% of your employees feel that your superintendent presents a positive image to the community, with 85% strongly agreeing that they trust district leadership. All right. 88% say the school board is doing what it takes to make the district successful. 91% report the school board appropriately balances the mission of the district with fiscal responsibility. And 84% say that the school board presents a positive image to the community. Again, good data there. What are the 4 things that we think are most important? We would consider when we're considering our job satisfaction, compensation and salary, which we know that our employees are comfortable with. Good leadership, we saw that they're happy there. Healthy culture and working conditions, and meaningful work. So those are really the top 4 factors when your employees are considering job satisfaction. And seeming that we had 100% of your employees feel that their work contributed to the success of the district. That looks really good. Community supports education. 96% strongly agree with that statement. 94% report that they're satisfied with the financial management of the district. 91% believe that the district improved in the past year. And 95% say, all things considered, this district is a good place to work. It said, what grade would you give us? Again, you're doing really well. 86% of your employees would give you an A or a B. That's rocking. Compared to neighboring districts, how are we doing? 39% much better, 40% better, 13% the same. This isn't the data that we always see, so much to celebrate there. Then we take your data and we're going to feed it into some indexes. So we've identified really 12 key areas of staff engagement specific to those who work in education. So we have 4 that kind of feed into themes around people, 4 around place. So how does my building function and help me with my engagement and my ability to do my job? And then in that process piece, so really that big picture, the structure of the district. So that support from your parents and community, your district leadership, the communication channels, and how we assess and make improvements. So as we look at this, we can see, again, we look at those comparative data here. Again, data doesn't always look like this for districts, but you can see here your highest theme is affirmation, that your employees feel that they're really valued for the work that they do and acknowledged, so that's excellent. Strong trust in district leadership, strong support and trust and relationships with the parents and the public, and really that sense of educational excellence and trust in district leadership. We could really draw a line right there. So overall, absolutely great data for the district. You have much to be proud of in the work that your staff is doing as a whole, and how they interact with each other, how they care for themselves, and really the systems that you as a district have in place. So really some really high accolades. Sometimes we'll see them that there's some big things that pop as far as areas where perhaps you need to focus some attention. At this point, we would say you're doing a pretty nice job. All right. You want me to hop on? Any questions on that, or should I hop up? Or you gotta look at my kid. State champion dancer right there, friend. Okay.
Your student is a state champion dancer?
The Onalaska dance team won the state.
Wow.
Congratulations.
Good for them.
So there we go. Figured she warranted a, what is that? Warranted getting to have her, her on the screen, huh? All right, so then the other thing that we did this year, first time, was that we conducted a senior exit survey. We wanted to gather some information from your seniors before they left us and kind of get some feedback on their experience in your school district. And again, this is just to kind of give you some sense of where they're at and how they're doing. So we conducted this in May of this year. Similar to the staff, your seniors were sent an email that had a link to take the survey. It's access controlled like all our other ones, so they can take it once and only once. And you had 54 of your graduating seniors respond to the survey. Of those who responded, 81% have been in the district 5 to 12 years. So 19% joined the district during their high school years. So again, if we want to go in the back end of our software and split that up and say, well, let's just look at students that have been with us for a longer period of time, we could indeed break that out and look at that 81%. Our software allows us to do that. Additionally, if we wanted to look at kiddos that we maybe said, well, they didn't spend as much time doing homework each week, or those who spent a lot of time doing homework, we could do that as well. You can see here 43% of your graduating seniors are saying they spent 1 to 5 hours a week on homework, 28% 6 to 10, and then you've got 4 and 5% that were either 11 to 15 or 16 to 20 hours. And a couple friends are reporting more than 20 hours a week they spent on homework. All right. We then asked, well, besides that, how many hours a week do you work outside of school? And you can see here, 11% aren't holding jobs at graduation or before graduation. 28% said less than 8 hours a week. 26% are in that 8 to 16. And then you've got 20% there between that 17 to 24 and more than 24 hours a week. 70% of your graduates report that they mostly get A's and B's on their report card. 22% B's and C's. 4% are reporting either C's and D's or D's and F's. Again, we asked this, so if we wanted to pull that data apart and perhaps look at that 8% of students that are, struggling perhaps academically and their opinions or experiences, our software would allow us to do that. 9% of the respondents reported that they received some sort of special education services. 43% received free or reduced lunch. None of your students were ELL. And you can see here again, we broke this down by ethnicity. So 85% white, 13% would that be Hispanic or Hmong? 2% likely African American. So that was data that we filled from within your student management system into our system so that the data is accurate. 35% of the respondents were male, 65% female, and 73% were residents of the district, so some open enrollment kiddos there. We asked questions regarding who was it that was most helpful as you were considering what you were going to do after high school. And you can see here we've rank ordered these now, so interestingly enough, friends, guardians, and their parents rose to the top. Other relatives were highly influential. Then our school teachers, talking with college counselors and school counselors, and then down to the bottom if they had a job recruiter or an employer, someone they could talk to. So interesting that friends and parents were most influential. We said, what is it you're going to do once you leave us after high school graduation? 57% of your graduates report that they're going on to 4-year college, 9% undecided, or going to a tech or trade school or a 2-year school. 8% of those are saying I'm going to start at that 2-year and then move into that 4-year. 6% into the workforce, with 2% heading to the military. Now we can see we're saying, all right, what is it you expect academically once you leave us? So about a little over a third are saying I'll earn that bachelor's degree. 19% are hoping for an associate or a technical degree. 11% believe they'll complete a master's degree. 7% have aspirations of going on for some sort of doctorate work. We asked, did you visit some colleges? And you can see here, 85% did. We know there's a correlation between college visits and if you're exploring post-secondary education. 11% did not. 4% said, I'm not planning to go to college, so it wasn't relevant for me. 65% reported that they believed that a college education was valued by their family. And 59% said that they had one or more people in their immediate family that had indeed graduated from college. So again, this allows us, if we want to slice the dice and look at kids' opinions based on how they answered those questions, we're able to do that. As far as, do you know what you're going to do once you leave us? So 34% said, yes, I'm definitely sure. I know what I'm going to do. 41% pretty sure. And then you've got that 23% not sure, 2% no clue, and 5% didn't answer that question. So again, a nice percentage of your students said you've done something to prepare them and they feel that they've got a good sense of direction of where they're going to go. And then we just said, all right, based on really kind of the key career clusters, where is it you think you'll land in what career cluster? And it looks like you've got the majority of your students that would land in that science, technology, engineering, and math, so they can check multiple, here's the things I'm interested in. Business management, administration, then some of the AV, communication, marketing, and human services really rose to the top. And when we look here, something's got to fall to the bottom, so you can see that hospitality and tourism, manufacturing, public admin or government work, and then transportation, distribution, and logistics. So some of, again, kind of that hospitality piece fell to the bottom as far as those interests. We said, all right, let's reflect on your experiences in school. So again, these are just a simple average. If everyone had said always, you'd see a 4. Never, you would see a 1. So again, we've rank ordered these according to what was to the top. So your students really reported that they have good relationships with adults, that they work well with people whose culture and background was different from them, that they're really committed to a task and they want to get it done. So we're kind of poking at that drive piece and the social emotional aptitude through these questions. So they're willing to help others when they see a need, able to get through challenging times, work well on a team, and feel sorry for others when they're hurting. So, kind of our middle of the line is at 2.5, and you can see here, really your students very positive with an average of a 3.0 there. And now here as we look down this list, so when we think of where areas we want to focus as far as how making sure that we're teaching to the whole child and preparing our students when they leave us to be successful, you'll start to see there things start to move closer to that 2.5 than getting enough sleep. I think that's common of any high school kiddos, especially the ones that live in my house, struggling to get enough sleep. And then just above that, managing time and that ability to cope with stress. Those skills that you want to try and incorporate into everyday lessons. All right, your students are reporting, they felt safe at school, that there were adults at school who cared about their future. At least one adult in school that they could talk to about their coursework when needed. And half your students, so that 2.5, really kind of right in the middle as far as they felt treated fairly at school, felt respected at school. All right, so then we said, all right, how well prepared do you feel in the following areas? And you can see here now what came to the top. So your students are really reporting that English, language arts, science, social studies, and your PE and ag ed right there above the 3. All right, and then down towards the bottom, that industrial tech, art, Spanish, keep keep in mind, I don't know if all students take Spanish, but that could impact that response. Learning. So then we said to students, well, how did you do in class? Did you participate? So you can see here, rank orders these again. So students report high participation in class. Many of them took classes that challenged them. They reported they put their best effort forward. And then we look down to the bottom, and you can see here I felt comfortable speaking or presenting in class. So an area that many times kids, as they move through high school, will struggle with is something that as your classroom teenagers are thinking about how they design curriculum and areas they may want to focus on. So during high school, what do you have the opportunity to do? 70% reported that they were able to spend time in classes working as part of a team. 68% said yes. I was able to be creative. 59% said I had opportunities for leadership. 57% said I was able to do projects that interested me. And then you can see here 45 and 39% said that there were volunteer opportunities available in both their school and community. And then we saw a priority of the staff was preparing students for a career in college. And we said, all right, are there things that you did during high school that helped prepare you? And so 50% said, yep, I went on field trips that prepared me. 45% said that they heard from guest speakers, or they participated in a specific class, 39%, or there were projects, 34%, that connected to what it is they might want to do. 26% reported a job shadow. 13% said that they had internship opportunities. Regarding life skills, you can see here that opportunity to analyze problems, be open to new and diverse perspective and citizenship there, communicating new ideas to others, and then as we're maintaining positive relationships. So how did the district do? Again, those look real positive there. Everything, you say coping with emotions, coping with failure, those two are dancing around that 2.5. Again, it's that social emotional aptitude, social emotional wellness that we hear a lot about as far as areas where perhaps as a district an opportunity to focus some attention. Similarly, above a 2.5, but that 2.8 at personal finance, every parent's biggest fear is my kid's going to be unemployed and living in my basement, not know how to manage their money. Again, managing their time. The public speaking kind of pops there a little bit with that 2.77, and then opportunities to volunteer. So, are there things that we can do to provide more opportunities for volunteering in the community and area for the district to look at? So what things impacted you? So again, if the higher the number on this one, then we can say, all right, the more of a concern it was. So again, these all look pretty good. No concerns there. And you can see stress, mental health, so that kind of pops as at 2.1 as the highest. But again, many of these things students are saying weren't a problem for them as far as disrupting their education. So really that managing time, managing their mental health stress, coping with that stress, those things, areas that many times we see as seniors leave you as areas that they're focusing on. Are they happy with the education that they received in high school? Certainly, 13% really strongly agree with that statement. 66% agree with that statement, with only 15% of your seniors disagreeing. And again, that's an area where we could go back and say, well, let's look at that 8% of kiddos that was struggling academically. Are those the kids that perhaps were less satisfied with their education? That looks like it completes the data. Again, strong data for the district as far as the satisfaction of the students. Some areas, again, that mental health piece, we see that around the state and country. Certainly, all we have to do is turn on the news to see that as far as perhaps an area that the district would want to focus their attention. And then it does, the survey does provide some feedback as far as what are focus areas that your graduates are considering for careers when we look at those career clusters, and knowing that that's a priority of staff as far as how best are we preparing kids for college and career. So I think good data that the district can use as they consider future planning for next year and in the years to come.
Any questions for Sue?
Sue, this is Cindy Zellner-Ehlers. Sue, my question is, what do other districts do in terms of, once they have this data, what do they do to share that information with the staff as well as the graduating seniors? Because I would think that, obviously, the staff, after they filled out this, they'd like to know what the findings were. But this is our first time round with the senior exit. Do you recommend providing the seniors some feedback?
Yep, great question. So let's start with the staff survey first. Important to let your staff know that their data was used for something. So the report I shared tonight, I can share with Kyle, and you guys can disseminate that, present it at a welcome back day, like here's where we're at. Certainly many things to celebrate. But then you can, what should happen within your district leadership team of school administration and district leaders is really to say, all right, let's pick a couple of things within the survey data to celebrate. And were there some areas or some things that as we dug into the data that we'd like to improve on? And so as they pick those, in essence, we say, all right, when you present the data to the staff is probably more interested in what's going to change based on the feedback I gave you than just let me look at the data. So important, and we've got a little worksheet that I can provide. It's not hard for the district to just even do it themselves, but these are 4 areas that we're going to celebrate. These are 3 or 4 areas that we want to focus some attention. And here's some things that we've come up with, perhaps to make some improvements based on what we saw with the data. So again, you can go in the back end of the data and say, all right, I looked at this and I've got classroom teachers or paraprofessionals. You can pull that data apart and kind of dig around. Or it could be that you've got people that have been with you 1 to 2 years. There might be some questions where that group pops. So some things we want to do for our new staff members to make sure that they feel valued and assimilated. Or are there things that veteran teachers are struggling with? So to be able to clearly identify those, so dig into the data a bit, identify those, set some goals or at least some actionable items around those, and then share that. Certainly the leadership team should share that with the board, but share that with the staff and get some feedback from them as far as do they think those are good action items to make some improvement in the district. As far as your seniors, what I would do with that, certainly if you've still got their email addresses or contact information, you could send out a summary of, here's the feedback you gave us, and we're going to use it as we as a curriculum team look at how we can do things and make improvements for future students. So I would say to let them see that data, and then again as a leadership team and as perhaps high school staff, set some goals around some of the things that perhaps they want to focus some attention. So what does that look like as far as providing opportunities to teach your students about stress management, wellness? And we know that once they leave us, if they're going post-secondary, they're alone in a new city, things are stressful, and if they're already identifying that, coping with stress and getting anxious, those things are concerning, how is it that we can provide opportunities to teach mindfulness and make sure that our kids know when they recognize those signs, how they can rein themselves back in, assure that they're getting enough sleep, those types of things. So, setting some goals, being real thoughtful about those things, and then having your staff, the high school team reflect on that, monthly, quarterly, and then really looking at future years' data, we'll be able to look at other senior classes and say, oh, now these kiddos, we've been doing some mindfulness, we've been talking stress management, we've been talking about time management, those things. Future senior classes aren't identifying that as so much of a concern. And then something else likely will pop as a district, and you'll pick those next items to address.
Sue, to take that one step further, this is Sue today, what about sharing some of this information with parents and the broader community?
Yeah, absolutely. And certainly both of these presentations are set up so that they can be posted on your district website. Many districts do that, I'd encourage you to. Certainly you could write write some sort of a press release or a narrative to go along with it that, here's, that could include kind of some of those action items. Here's things that when we look at our staff that we're very thankful and want to celebrate. Here's areas where we're going to focus our attention and do something similar with your senior data.
All right, thank you very much.
All right, have a great night. Thank you.
You too. I'm sure much of this heavy lifting will occur between Mr. Lukey and his administrative team, but one thing popped out at me for the school board. Only 59% of the staff felt that we communicated well with them. I don't know what additional communication they're looking for, but it might be interesting for us to explore that somehow.
But we were above other schools though.
We were above other schools, but we were only, 59% was at the lowest thing on the whole,
Well,
on the whole.
we've done worse.
Well, we can do better.
Well,
But we're always looking to do better.
Well, yeah, I didn't say you didn't want to do better, but
I want us to be,
I felt good that we were above other ones.
I did too.
Yeah.
We'll talk with Mr. Lukey about that.
well, Mike, if I may add to that, I agree that, so, I mean, because my concern with data is when you look at averages and we're better, well, maybe I'm not happy with that, right? So my question would be, how are we taking the data to really find that last piece now? Is that would be like an offsite with us, or is Kyle's team, or who's gonna do the digging in the data? Because this should tell us some, and she said what our actions, it may help us set priorities for the next year. And what that means is if we all agree, then Kyle has more confidence in spending money or doing something in that area. And I don't know those areas yet, but I'm just saying that would be the next step I think is important, is we've done this and appreciate some successes. I mean, that's awesome. But the other thing is, I think what keeps people coming back to an organization is the striving to make it better always. And I think we've done that, and I want to keep doing that. So that's what so basically my question is, how do we get to the next steps? Is that a follow-on side meeting, more homework after school's up and running and things are good? I mean, not in August, I get that, but I didn't know, I just want to know about that. Let's get, when are we going to revisit that data? And when are we going to either set goals for the school in whichever areas we can improve upon? And I, recognizing average across the state, they're good. But I think, as we move forward, it focuses the school board's interest or Kyle's team, is that?
Well, the school board could have a retreat and try to set goals
Yeah,
based
right.
on this, but
We could dig into it and,
But I think we need to set those goals. I think we need to have the input from the administrative team.
Yeah, we're gonna have to dig into it a little bit. We'll probably talk to school perception some more and see.
And they would
When
bring
they-
us some things then.
this
and
isn't
then
a
we
next
have
week
our-
thing or anything, I'm just saying,
No, we gotta put on the radar of the way it disappears.
thank you.
Yeah, because
Maybe that was all I needed.
that's how it works. Right now, we're thinking new teacher in service, teacher
Right,
in
no, that was
service,
a bad
thing.
kids.
Yeah.
Right? But
Summer's almost over.
there's always, yeah.
And I think if we can look into the data and desegregate that a little bit more as, what are elementary teachers thinking, what are secondary teachers, what are bus drivers, what are support staff, that kind of thing. And I thought she indicated that she
Yeah,
would provide
we
that
can
to
too.
us.
Okay, if there's nothing else on the surveys, we will wait for word back from Mr. Lutke on that. And then we have a presentation from Melissa Andrews on mental health. So,
I don't have an actual presentation, it's just gonna be
would you like to
me
stand, or would you
chatting.
like to pull up a chair and sit?
I'll stand if that's okay, just because I've got a few things here, but. Hey, everybody, Melissa Andrews, I think I know everyone in the room for the most part, but for those of you that don't know me, I am the mental health navigator for the school districts in Door County. So this was a new position that came about through a grant that Sue and Cindy had actually initially applied for. And we got the grant through DPI. So 2018-2019 school year was the pilot year. Essentially, I started the first week of November. So it was very much, it's a very well-written grant, but it was like, okay, so what do you do with all this? So essentially there are 3 tiers. So I work let me backtrack. I work for the program is STRIDE. So some of you who have heard like STRIDE know what that is. It stands for Strengthening Trust and Resilience, Instilling Independence, and Discovering Empowerment. That is a collaborative team of school staff from each of the 5 school districts. Washington Island usually will attend via phone. And all those districts, and then community health, mental health providers. We all come together once a month. So we were meeting, and this was very well organized before I started in November. So when I looked at it, basically DPI looks at student mental health and says there are 3 tiers for intervention. So tier 1 is for everybody. It's working with staff, it's working with students, it's working with parents in whatever capacity you can to increase that mental health literacy, to be comfortable in how do we talk about it, how do we interact with our students and support them when they're struggling, how do we support the parents if that's what the parent struggle is and thus the student struggle. So when we look at that in the grant, we were like, how can we best focus on a tier 1 intervention? So a lot of that was just in my role as the mental health navigator, working with each school district on what presentations and trainings we can provide to their staff. As all of you know, we plan our school years like a year in advance. So when you come in November, you're kind of like, hey, I'll take what I can get. So a lot of it started with associate staff because teachers really already have that in-service built in that they can't really adjust too much. So we provided trainings, QPR trainings, that stands for Question, Persuade, and Respond. Our local Department of Public Health and myself presented those trainings, and it's basically just talking about mental health and suicide awareness, and how do we have, as people, that general conversation, because it can happen. And what is our level of comfortability with that, and how do we feel more comfortable talking about that? So we engaged that staff in different self-care options, QPR trainings, whatever we could get in that first year. As we looked at tier 2 interventions, tier 2 interventions are now for select groups or fewer concentrated groups of people. Those can be identified in different ways. Ultimately in schools, those look like small groups that the kids can interact with an adult. When we looked at that and what we could kind of do in that first year, we came up with having some of the providers were able to work in smaller groups with some of the schools, but no identified groups. So then we looked at how can we target, and one of the things that came out of the grant was an SEL library, social emotional learning library. I have told some of the staff about this yet, but I haven't announced it to everyone yet. But each school is going to get, it's 47 titles, elementary and then middle school and high school. And then there are also resources for teachers and school staff that focus on mindfulness activities, how to bring that into the classroom, because one of the biggest things that I hear, and rightly so, is teachers don't know how to teach about this. They don't know, they don't get that in their curriculum training. So when they're, being encouraged to engage their kids and really redirect these behaviors, well, how do I do that? What does that mean? Why is this even important? So we're really looking at that. So one of the things we realized we could do that would benefit each group of people is various titles of books that center around all of those things. For the kids, they're age-appropriate books that talk about all different types of life experiences that our kids go through. LGBTQ, homelessness, parents in prison. And these are just really very, just a very kind, gentle way to talk to our kids about the stuff that they're already experiencing, right? We know that if we talk about suicide, we're not putting that idea in their heads. They already have it, they already know it exists, they see it in some capacity, or they hear about their friends, talking about this. How do we help them engage in that conversation and understand it? Because it only becomes more complex as we age. So my hope in all of this is that this resource can really be for the school staff, the counselors, the teachers, anyone can come and access this. And more so, for the counselors, that they have a resource for these kids or a book to say, let's just look at this and talk through this. And they have a connection that they can make that they're not the only ones that have experienced it. So then the Tier 3 intervention is for very select few. Tier 3, and that was the biggest push in our grant that we had, was to provide mental health services in school, every school district in Door County. I'm happy to report in that first year, we were able to get all the mainland schools to have a minimum of a half day. There's only one that has a half day, the middle school, high school, at Sturgeon Bay. But they have 1 week and they're paired with a community health provider. So Sevastopol is paired with Bellin Hospital. And there's a counselor that comes in and provides services to students that are selected through a core group in the school that work with the counselors to identify those needs and meet those needs. We're really looking at this as, we already know that there's a mental health deficiency, provider-wise, access to it, but when you tie in a rural area like ourselves, if someone lives in Sister Bay and wants to access mental health services, odds are they're having to drive to Sturgeon Bay, have that appointment, do whatever, and then drive back. It can easily take a day for anyone that lives, north of Fish Creek, depending on how that works. So we really wanted to look at those people that can't get their kids to their appointments. Maybe they don't have transportation, maybe they don't have homes. How can we help those kids get access to services that their peers may be able to access in a much different way? So I'm happy to report that in our first year, we were able to provide services to 32 students on a consistent basis. We were not able to get services, a provider to Washington Island, but I am happy to report that we'll be able to do that in our new grant for the next 2 years. So we are actually meeting at the end of this month. We have the provider lined up, and we will be having telehealth mental health services provided on Washington Island to those schools, or those students. The other biggest piece when I looked at this grant was, how do I educate people on trauma, ACEs, adverse childhood experiences? Some of you may have heard these terms before, but essentially we're looking at experience, and we're talking mostly about kids under the age of 18. We all experience trauma and can experience it at any time. The 2 biggest things that we focus on here is the type of trauma and how much of it. So we can experience something really horrific and traumatic, and it can happen one time, and we're resilient and we bounce back from that in multiple ways, however we access that help and support. But imagine if you're experiencing that every single day in your home. That trauma is alcoholism, domestic violence, poverty, plain and simple, just poverty. When you look at those pieces, that really impacts how kids can learn, how they can show up every day. So we're all, adults included, expected to show up at the beginning of the day, do what we're supposed to do, regardless of those experiences going on outside. So we really wanted to be able to be in a position to help kids realize this is happening, we understand it, and there's some things you can't control, right? We can't go in there and fix those issues, but we can help them and provide support in other ways. So ultimately, you're looking at those 3 different tiers of interventions and how we want to work those into each different school district. There are some things, like the direct one-on-one counseling, that there are consistent, very specific processes in place, and each school district follows the same process to do that. And we track the data a certain way. But other things that are provided, it is on a school basis, right? There's some flexibility, and the schools have a say in how they can kind of direct that one way or another. In the next 2 years, so we found out at the end of June that we received this grant for another 2 years. So we'll be able to continue into the 2019-2020 and 2020-2021 school year, which is very exciting. lastly, one of the biggest things that I did when I looked at this chunk of money, because when the grant was written, it goes on a fiscal year, right? So July 1 through June 30th. And because I didn't start until November, there was a huge gap there of things that weren't going to get done the way the grant was written. So I was on a committee with some various people in the community, and we are hosting a trauma-informed care conference at Stone Harbor on August 14th, and that was open to the community, so anyone can come. So we have some students that are coming, high school students. We have a couple of parents that are coming. We have a lot of school staff from each of the districts coming. And then a lot of people from different agencies, and a lot of them not even in Door County. So it's kind of exciting. We have 152 people registered to come to this conference. So I was hoping for like 80 when I started. So yeah, it's going to be great. I just have really enjoyed this opportunity to meet each school and understand that really we're all here and showing up for the same reason every single day. We just do it in different ways. And so the one most powerful thing that I want to articulate to people through this program is that you don't have to have a degree. You don't have to have any like fancy history or a license or a certification that you hang on your wall. We are all here and can be that one adult for a kid that needs it. That doesn't mean we can solve their problems or change their home life. But we can show up every day for them. We can support them. We can remind ourselves in that moment when we're like, that they're reacting to something that we have no idea about. And so my hope is that I can just continue over the next couple of years to educate and make this aware for people so that we can have that stronger youth. Because without them, it's going to be a long road for all of us then. So we got to take care of them. And I just want to say thank you to everyone that has supported me along the way in this, because I didn't really know what I was doing when I started. But I reach out, and when I have a question, there's always somebody there to help guide me. And I really appreciate that. So thank you for having me come speak about this. Does anybody have any questions? Yeah.
I have two, if I may.
Okay.
So just to confirm, so there is a library here at our school?
There will be.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Would our staff, the grade staff here, be able to call you or someone there to help laser beam them to the book that they would help them in their situation?
They most certainly could. So my plan.
If not, they're going to spend a lot of time digging through books and stuff.
Yeah. So so essentially, there's 3 totes, and each tote is going to have like a table of contents with a little picture of the book, title, author, and then a brief description of it, so that really anyone could walk up and leaf through these 3 or 4 pages.
Got it.
I've told those that I have told, but when I articulate this to all of them, I'm really leaving that they're going to be given to the school counselors, and then the school counselors can work on where they want to put do they want to keep them in their office, do they want to how they want
And
to
over
do that.
time, though, it'll be quicker to say, hey, this has been very helpful, look in here.
Yes, and then if anyone had any questions, anyone can contact me at any time. Yeah, but my hope is that by the beginning of school starting, they'll all have those totes.
If I made my second one,
Yep.
that's right, sorry, is I am familiar, you had mentioned this ACEs evaluation. Is there a discussion about finding a way, or is there already some way to integrate it into every year so every kid takes this? Because that evaluation, if you go through that, will start giving indications to our community and our staff to start watching. Because some people may have a high score, but somehow they handle it wonderfully. Others might not. So how do we get that? I mean, can we do that? Is that legal? Can we say, hey, fill this out, it's part of our classroom or curriculum? And then it's
So
just...
amen. Like, yes, I'll get a copy in my car and you can just start handing them
Well,
out.
wait, I'm
We
not
can't
trying
do
to-
it that way. But I know, no.
I can't do that.
But I know what you're
Stay
saying.
over there, you know?
Yeah, no. Can we do that? Most certainly. So
At some point.
have you seen the ACEs? Like
Well, I've just,
have you seen it?
I personally took some interest in researching it in the
Okay.
past. And I know if you go through the questions, it's pretty simple and straightforward.
Yeah.
But it starts to help you realize that, hey, we got some work to do, or hey,
Yeah.
you're pretty good, just keep struggling, charging through your journey in life.
Yeah.
So I think it's, that's why I asked the question, because I think it would be like any of this surveys, it's not artificial intelligence. You still got to engrave the great teacher knowledge and parent adult knowledge, but I think it's great. I think we need to get active on it.
Yeah, thank you. I agree 100%. That would be like the dream world, is that at every single 4K in the district, that's part of the 4K registration process. You take it. Because, and for those of you who, I'll get to you in a second, so for those of you who don't know about ACEs, it's basically 10 questions that ask you, have these things happened in your life? The hesitancy that I get commonly is two things. It's sensitive matter, even though it's things we know, and they're already happening to us. They're not things that we go around talking about usually and share with anyone. So there's that hesitancy in how will a 4K kid react? They would answer the questions probably if they understood them. How will the parent react? Different story. So you've got these different dynamics that you kind of have to take into play. I would love to be there at some point where we are looking at that, because I agree with you. I find it fascinating because, like you said, it doesn't matter. There are people who have ACEs scores of 10 and are very successful people, and they have ACEs scores of 0s and 1s, and they're not very successful people. So it's not necessarily it's going to determine your trajectory of life, but it is going to indicate some things: your health, more risk behaviors that you would be likely to engage in. So it most certainly, if we knew, hey, our 3rd grade class has an ACEs score total of 172, we might want to take a look at that. That's probably really the reason that we're having all these issues in our classroom, and no matter what we kind of do about it, that still is the unknown.
If I may, I would ask, since we didn't offer, but I'm interpreting that you're out looking input is, I think we should look at how legally and respecting of privacy, and maybe 4K, but as you get older, why can't you survey kids and have them ask it? And then, now again, you're not going to go running into their house and beat the door down, but if it helps the teacher teams evaluate, hey, we might need some extra help, and then you go bother the boss, the admin team, the chain of command, and say, hey, maybe, I don't know, an extra aid or focus in this area might help us, or someone from your organization briefs us on a few weekly activities.
Yeah. Absolutely, and that's part of what this SEL library that I'm talking about, the teacher resources and staff resources, there are some really good activities in there that are just simple conversation starters, ways you can start the day in your classroom and just decide, today we're gonna go around and we're gonna take 5 minutes and do this, or XYZ, breathing exercise, whatever it is. How can we incorporate those very simple things that make a huge difference? So one thing that we are going to be doing, is it okay to say paper tiger? We are going to be showing paper tigers here on September 27th. It's your in-service day. It's an 1.5-hour film about a school in Washington State. It's a charter school. But they took this into account, and they said, we're going to do things differently, because we know that these things are happening and this needs to be different. And it goes through and it just talks about the administration and how they handled it, what they did. It focuses on specific students and their life and how it is for them to engage in school. It's a really, really impactful film. I don't know, I know you said it was open to lay teachers. I assume the school board is part of that. Anyone who wants to, be a part of that, I would really welcome that. We're working on narrowing down the time of day that will occur. But we know it is for sure going to be on that day. Yes.
Melissa, could you add a little bit about the panel discussion afterwards?
Yeah. So we're going to have about a 30-minute panel discussion. We're going to have Mark Hilsbeck, the SRO. He's going to be on our panel. I think we'll have someone, I'd like to have, I don't know if Amy's available yet, but I'd like to have the provider on that panel. So if it's not Amy, maybe Mary Lou, her supervisor, could come. In a school administrator, someone, that can kind of talk about how it is for Sevastopol, those kind of things. And so we're going to talk about that just 30 minutes after the film, because it's a lot. It's a lot to take in, I'm not going to lie. it's a feel-good movie in the sense that you leave there feeling empowered, like you can really do something really good and it's not that hard. It's there. We're just missing it, right? So I really hope that anyone who wants to come can come and see that, because that's just really, it's a phenomenal film. It's a heartbreaking thing to talk about, but it's a phenomenal film.
For what, I think some of our teachers are already doing great things like that, but I think we
yes.
want to get it out to more, everybody.
Yes.
And as the navigators, you get better and more experienced, and you see, because anything I harass Kyle about is action plans. This is all cool to talk about.
Yep.
But how do you make it happen?
Yep.
So that's why I'm asking the questions. And
Yeah,
I'm
absolutely.
eager for you to continue your efforts with these
So
grants
you had a-
that
yeah.
great people like that.
Yep, Sue, good question.
I was pleased that you were here tonight with the surveys.
I know.
Yes, it was perfect for you to be able to see some of that, and I would say, you know, Kyle, if you can get something to her in the form of a paper or electronic copy, to be able to use that in your work would be very beneficial.
Definitely, definitely. Because yeah, I mean, it's an important conversation. It's not one that everyone is comfortable having. I mean, most certainly, I think most of us, if we had to choose to go back and think about our childhood and all those things, well, we might be like, I don't want to relive that.
But the data, which is local, really helps with that, because folks can't say, well, that's Milwaukee, that's Chicago.
Yep.
This is Sevastopol.
Yep, and that's exactly what we need, because that is one thing that people have said about this film. Well, it's Washington, doesn't matter. You know, the name and the population count might be different, but everything else is the same. And I just feel like the more that we can get this information out and this message and just help people to understand, like, it's okay. It's not okay, but it's okay. And you know that our kids, that they know that we're here to support them and help them in any way that we possibly can. One more thing I just want to touch on, and then I'll let y'all go because I've rambled on way longer than I would. Is speaking to what you had said, David. One of the things that I have planned is it's called the Brain Architecture Game. And I reached out to a teacher in Superior, Wisconsin, who had used this as part of their professional development. And essentially you get like 40 people is probably the max, maybe 50, in a room, and it's a game that you play, and you basically have like cups and pipe cleaners, and you are creating a brain, and you do it along this different path, and based on the different cards you pull, it shows you kind of how these things, the visual representation of what happens to our children's brains when these traumas happen. And they're all different kinds. So I'm going to be working with the schools to get, again, whatever staff. My hope is to get to the teachers in the 2020-2021 year. I guess they're planning that now, but that's my plan. But go around to each of the schools and have them identify a key core group, because it's really hard to get a bunch of people that do the same thing in the same building, in the same room at the same time, right? So let's pull somebody from the school board. Let's pull somebody from, high school, middle school, and let's get those people in the room, because then they can go back and send the message, right? And spread the education and awareness. So that's my game plan. That's where I'm at. And again, I just thank everyone for the time and the effort that you've given me in this program, because I think it's wonderful.
Very nice. Thank you. Very interesting.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you so much.
Okay, we have Megan Horvath here with a wellness committee presentation.
Here, and I'm gonna probably stand over here because I have notes. I'm not gonna ramble. Although I probably would. I am handing out just a little thing for you guys to check out if you want. I'll reference it. Yep. There you go. And you guys can share if you want.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, so I'm Megan Horvat. Deb Danton was unfortunately not able to come this evening. She bumped her head and is resting. So she's fine. She wasn't able to come.
Did she go through the concussion protocol?
I don't know if she's not Jordan.
She really, yeah.
Oh, did she?
Yeah.
Well, she did go
got-
get
I
some
mean,
tests done.
Yeah, she
Really?
had tests done and stuff, yeah.
Oh, well, I didn't.
She really can't come.
Guess she's excused, yeah.
I wasn't intending to be cool.
So we hope that she gets better. But we are working on bringing our staff health and wellness program back to life here at Sevastopol and promote being healthy. Now, also with the school perceptions, I did notice there was a 71% about wellness, so we want to get better, and this is something that will hopefully help us get there and have a higher percentage on the school perceptions. We are working with the M3 insurance and with our new insurance, Prevea. We have great opportunities and resources to bring a variety of wellness activities to our staff. Other schools in the area are also doing this as well. So the resource that I want to talk about is called Fit Life, and as you can see, it's up on the board or up on the screen for you. It actually comes with our new insurance, but we are seeking your direction and approval for the incentive portion of our program. So Fit Life. Fit Life is a private health and wellness platform that helps simplify our school's health and wellness program. Thank you, Stephen. He's such a great tech.
The surveys showed that.
Yes, it did.
Yeah.
The platform is managed all online. You can access the platform through your computer, through an app on your phone. The platform actually connects to devices such as Apple Watch or a Fitbit to track activity. And that's actually a way to earn points. So members can earn points by being active, taking part in wellness educational activities, getting a physical, a flu shot, biometric screening, attending lunch and learn presentations, and taking part in our school's wellness challenges. And as you can see on the handout, that's like a list of all of the different ways to earn points. All of them are good. All of them help and promote health and wellness. So that's good. According to Prevea, the health of the program, or health of the population in other school districts that have used this platform have shown improvement over 2 to 5 years in the areas that can be impacted by this type of culture. Those areas include risk of heart disease, stroke, diabetes, and conditions related to metabolic syndrome. We know that a workforce that is involved and motivated to improve their overall health is more present, has less missed days of work, less turnover, less stress, less burnout, and all resulting in savings to the district and beneficial impact to the student community. And like Melissa was saying, health. I mean, even mental health is something that we need to focus on too, and that will also be important. A district that is willing to recognize the physical and emotional well-being of their staff will attract the type of employee that we're looking for. So we're going to propose, this is using the platform with staff members taking the insurance and offer 3 levels of achievement for the year. So 500 points would be bronze, 750 points would be silver, 1,500 points would be gold. At the end of the year, members could cash in their points for gift cards. 20 points would equal $1. This is the good stuff. For now, we have 85 members who could potentially earn 1,500 points each, which overall is 127,500 points, and it would be about $6,375 for the gift cards as incentives. Now, we are hoping to use this year just to get comfortable with the platform, and then evaluate the incentives again next year, if we're allowed, with possible changes that may include premium differentials that could save the district money. We are asking for your approval to move forward with this incentive plan of $6,375 to better our workforce and wellness of the district. So,
That $6,375 would be if and only if everyone.
If everyone
max.
agrees.
That's the maximum.
Yeah, so
Never
that would
have to
Each
get the top
employee is
level.
maxed at a $75 payout, is what it would be.
Yes.
Okay. for 1,500 points.
And does the program keep the points for you? It's not like you as a staff
No,
person?
everything is
It's
all
online,
on
yeah,
this
you
platform.
can't just say I got,
Yeah.
I ran 6 miles this morning and I just rolled out of bed and watched TV. No, you can't do
Right.
that.
And each point, I mean, on the handout, you can see there's points that you can earn for different things, and you have to actually either provide like proof for it, if you go to a physical or the flu shot, or the biometric screening, you have to provide some proof that you did
Who
those
do they
things.
show the proof to?
It's online, like it's
They
just,
Oh, they
upload it.
upload
yeah,
it?
it's not like they show like their weight or anything, it's all private in that sense. It's just that they uploaded something, and Prevea is kind of like the background, they kind of take care
Oh,
of that.
Purveya does all that. Like
Well,
these self-reported workouts, so those are just someone just enters them on there.
Is it tied to your insurance? I mean, you have Purveya, do we have?
We do have Prevea,
So I mean, if you had a physical, they would know that anyway, right, for their health claim?
I believe so, yes. But they would also probably provide documentation if they did.
Well, to get your points, you better make sure you're reporting.
Right.
If there's, yeah.
Right, but I mean, I'm just
So-
saying, like,
Yes, you're.
Well, the insurance company would know it, but it's kind of two different entities of the insurance company.
it's not tied to your rate, I mean,
Well, it
It
can,
can be, not at this point. So right now, we're just using it as like a reward system.
but I know
or
some
incentive to-
employers tie it to
Right.
rates
Yes.
that they can get a better.
I've already been using it.
Differential premium, yep.
And I did an annual physical, and some of the documentation I had to have was my date of appointment and then doctor's name. That was what I had to enter into the system in order to prove that I had
That
it.
you had it done.
Yeah.
I think the possible payoff, right, is the secondary effect, is they're doing this to get points. First of all, their health might get better, their stress management will get better, but then over time, then our insurance over time might go down because we don't have as many insurance claims.
And we're
So, I mean,
engaged.
right, that's
And they're
kind
engaged
of,
Or
and
maybe our sick day usage would go down.
sick days.
and less burnout and.
So do you get like a report? Is there some kind of report where it shows how many points you've earned? So then, and then do we dole out, somebody at school doles out the gift cards that are kept on hand?
Yes, the plan is to.
oh wait, let me add that to my list.
Just add to his stress level.
Yeah.
Right. We'll help you with that too.
Thank you.
You get points.
So, and what are you talking for gift cards? Like Target gift cards?
Target,
Apple,
Amazon.
Amazon, Apple?
Yeah, just
Things that,
pretty,
you know,
things that people will use.
not McDonald's.
Right.
obviously.
That's awesome.
I worked all this time.
Okay.
So yeah, we're looking at those options. So. Does anyone else have any other questions or?
Megan, you referenced mental health.
Yes.
Tell me, say a little bit more about that, because obviously, you know, we're putting a lot of emphasis on children's mental health these days in the school, but if you do the research, it's also saying, there's strong suggestion that we pay attention to the mental health of the caregiver or the teacher.
Correct.
What,
So,
What's in
Prevea, our insurance actually gives us some other challenges that kind of go into mental health and like how are you doing kind of checks in. That's not exactly always on here. It's more something the wellness committee is potentially doing. Just kind of bring our wellness committee back up and be a little bit more in the community.
You know, usually, my wife, we have something like this at the hospital.
Yes.
Like when you do your biometric screening, they ask you mental health stuff, your risky behaviors, different things, and then from that they
Watch
you want
a
a
video.
coach to call
Or,
you and
yep.
give you tips on, it's better to do this than to drink booze to lower your stress. I mean, they will do that. So I mean,
It does help with that also, and they have, so along with your biometric screening, or your health assessment that you
Right,
take,
health assessment.
they have videos, trainings that you can go through, and that's actually one of the ways to earn points too, is to better yourself. So, yeah.
Well, we can't take action
I
on
know.
this tonight.
Yeah.
It'll come back to us.
Next month.
It'll come back to us in a future month.
And if you
Good
think of something
presentation.
else at a
Thank you.
different time,
Yeah.
let us know.
Thank you.
We're-
Okay, good. Thank you. Right. The school board will convene to executive session tonight to consider the employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of any public employee over which the governmental body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility under Wisconsin statutes 19.85(1)(c), music teacher, exit interview, compensation, retirement, and elementary teacher. Did we have any guests signed to speak tonight? No. Okay. Does anyone wish any of those items to be removed from the consent agenda? If not, the consent agenda is approved by consent. We move to the administrator's reports. Mr. Hiltz.
All right, thank you very much. I'd like to begin with by thanking Missy, Amy, Sue, the other people involved with registration that we had this week. It seemed to go smoothly and a lot of work behind the scenes, so a lot of kudos to them. Also like to bring the board's attention to our theme for this year at the elementary level is going to be a community of caring, and each of the different classes will have a different group that they're going to be responsible for doing service work each month, and so each teacher team will work on developing those kind of things so we can develop that sense of service as the children work their way up through the elementary, and the hope is that will continue to carry on as they're doing things middle school and high school. So. And then lastly, just want to remind everyone that we have the open house August 28th from 5:30 to 7 o'clock.
Thank you. Mr. Baer?
Thank you. I just want to echo Aaron's comments about thanking all summer staff. Well, this is the time of the year where you have to look around and appreciate all the work that's happening. Our maintenance staff has done a tremendous job putting our building in shape. It's still in progress daily. They work very hard. Jean, I see stacks of books, stacks of boxes moving in front of our office every day. So everybody's working really hard to put our school back together, and I want to thank them. Just to highlight a student accomplishments, our community can be aware of it. If you drive through Egg Harbor and past Mojo Rosso's, please appreciate the artwork that was done by Mackenzie Elson. She was given a scholarship to repaint the mural, and it is absolutely gorgeous. I drove up last week just to see it. It's not finished, or maybe it is now, but it wasn't finished when I saw it, but it was spectacular. Today, in Mr. Lidke's place, I was able to attend an SRO meeting with Justice Department with Mr. Hilsbeck. Really excited to work with him. He's very progressive, looking into new ideas. Been in contact with him after that meeting, and just really thankful. I was able to introduce him to our community a little bit at our orientation meetings on Monday and Tuesday night, and I think it was a warm reception, just letting the audience know and the parents know and the kids know that it's not about consequences, it's about safety. And he's here to ensure that our school building is safe. In recent days, we've seen the tragedies that could occur, and there's no cost that it can afford something like that. So we're thankful to have him. Lastly, I gave you kind of a tentative enrollment projection, and that has already been changed. We had a number of kids just walk in and enroll on Monday and Tuesday, so we're still climbing. So it's good news. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions?
Adam, I just had a question around the career coach on your report.
Yes, thank you.
How does that interface with our guidance counselor? Like tell me a little bit more about that
Directly.
interface.
And we have kids that come into high school, maybe 10%, that know what they want to do when they leave high school, okay, as freshmen. They already have a plan. That's a very small percentage. And then as you go through high school, we hope that most of our kids develop college and or career plans. Some kids are really stuck though, and so we use as many resources as we possibly can. But this is another resource. The gentleman that we're working with, this has been done in schools in Brown County. They've had a tremendous amount of success. They bring additional tools as far as surveys, career interests, and they do coaching. They help them with application processes. As an example, we just worked with the Rotary Club on their scholarship, their technical scholarship, and they said, we want a wider populations of students to fill it out. What do we need to do? And this is where the career coach came in. All the building administrators said, well, it'd be great because the career coach can maybe hand deliver those, sit down with them. Not that our guidance counselor isn't doing that, but sit down with them and fill that out. So everybody recognizes the variety of different aspects this person can play. But it'll probably be more specific with that smaller population of 6 to 10% of your students that are undecided really don't know what they want to do in high school. So.
And if I could just add to that, actually, when Melissa Melkor and I went to Green Bay East and Southwest last year, looking at career centers for the new building, we learned about this career coach because that's what's happening in the Green Bay schools, as Adam indicated. And we were impressed with it. And I know when we came back, Melissa contacted NWTC about it. And the idea is not that they are coaching kids solely for NWTC, but that they are coaching kids for higher education and helping them work through that little maze. So it's a nice service, and I'm delighted that Melissa was able to secure that.
Yeah, and to add to that, they're in these colleges, so they can make connections with university professors. They can do shadows within the schools because they have those connections. Now, Ryan, the representative, is an employee of NWTC now, but I was told that he was formerly employed by UWGB, so he has both that 4-year and 2-year experience, which is invaluable. I mean, we teach in our building, and I was a technology education teacher, but I wasn't in a manufacturing setting, or I wasn't in a construction setting, or I wasn't in, so having those experiences was valuable for our kids. That's what's happening here as far as that transition piece, somebody that's actually there and connected with
How much
colleges.
time will they spend here
Yeah,
at
what does
school?
embedded
Like, what does
mean?
embedded mean?
Well,
Yeah, is it?
they will have regular office hours. I don't know how much they're willing to give to our school. I don't know if it's 2 hours or 4 hours a week or every other week. We're not meeting until July 20th, where I'll find out a little bit more information about
August.
that.
So
Oh,
there
I'm sorry.
isn't-
Yeah, I was looking at something else. Yeah, August, whatever that date is.
And are any of the other area schools using this service at this time?
Well, Melissa was the first contact for Door County, but they then followed up with a letter to all the districts, I believe, because at that meeting I was at with the Rotary, they had received a similar request, the other districts did.
So it's a service by NWTC and there's no charge to
Free
the
to
school
us.
districts?
Yep, free to us. I'll find out more at our meeting, but August, it's down there. But my understanding is that it is free.
Great.
So,
Yeah.
if I question I have, it sounds like a good idea, but, so I'm a pessimist sometimes too.
Mhm.
If they're just gonna market our kids, you go to NWTC, I would be concerned about that.
That is not the idea.
Well, how do we know that?
Well, it'll be through Melissa's work with.
Okay, thank you. So Melissa is gonna be responsible to ensure that they're truly guiding kids to find their potential, not an NWTC option. See the difference? There's a difference.
Yes, and as I said, Dave, the idea is that they market post-secondary education, not specifically NWTC.
No,
But I see what
okay.
I see what
Great, I
Dave's
think
saying.
it's great.
Who's gonna hold them accountable?
Well, Melissa is.
They will work closely with her.
I think it's good. I just think that, our young minds are impressionable, right? And first of all, I think this is great, and there's lots of great careers that even NWTC can get you off going, and I think it's super. But, there's also an incentive for them to be doing this, right? Because he's getting paid, right? So that's why I'm questioning. He's going to be paid to come over here. So that's why I'm asking the question. I think it's great.
Dave,
I'm not stopping anything.
I
just
share your
wanna-
opinion, I share your concern, and what I think needs to be known is this isn't the entire population, it's the undecided population, and then funneling the kids that maybe too want to go to NWTC. Okay, well, you want to go to NWTC,
Oh,
well, meet with Ryan. Or the undecided population, the 8 to 10% that really don't know what they want to do, and okay, here's a local option in your community but I share that concern, and you probably can't completely separate yourself because you're an employee of NWTC.
Right.
But, we're gonna have that access be appropriate, I think, or try to maintain that, and work with those kids that really don't have a plan at all, and so hopefully they can develop a plan. But it's not like we're gonna take a student that's set on going to Madison and say, you gotta meet with a career counselor. They know what they're doing, they're set. That 80%, they're solid. They won't be the ones in his office. He doesn't have enough time to meet with all of them. He doesn't have time to meet with if he's here for 2 hours or 4 hours or whatever it might be, he's got time to meet with 2 or 3 kids. So it's gonna be a small group.
Can he meet with the lower underclassmen to help them guide them into these different classes that they can be taking now through NWTC to help them, figure things out?
That's a great way to grow the program. That'll be a question that I can definitely ask
At
him.
2 hours, he probably
Yeah.
doesn't have time to do
Yeah.
that.
Right,
So-
and we don't know yet if it's 2 hours that you're
Yeah,
gonna find
we
out
don't
on
know.
August
We're gonna
20th.
find out that information as we go forward. But that's a great way to grow the program, I would think. And that would be my goal too.
Because even at that, I think it gives kids, whatever their path is past high school, those classes are going to help them decide, well, oh, I thought I wanted to go into this, but now that I've taken this class, maybe it's not a good fit. So I think it's a great option to kind of weed out and get some career planning early on and go, maybe I don't want to, nursing maybe isn't for me. Or maybe, I'm bad at welding and I thought I wanted to go into that, but I've taken this class now. So I think, not even to think at all about it for after high school is to where they can start making those decisions earlier.
That's why we still maintain so many electives in our school, because we want students to have those opportunities and decide what they like and what they don't like. Absolutely. Thank you.
On another,
Thank you.
on another topic in your report, Adam, you talked about the Equitable Access Action Team
Mm-hmm.
as part of strategic planning. WASB had a full-day conference on equitable access, and I did reference that in my board report, and if you're interested in more information than what's in there, let me know. I'd be happy to share that with you.
Absolutely. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Ms. Margaret.
Hi. Well, I want to start by just thanking everyone who had something to do with our summer enrichment program. It was fantastic. So I'm happy that the students and the staff had such a great experience, and there was just so many people, and I listed them by name in my report, but I'm very, very thankful for their hard work. So it was a really successful summer enrichment. The other thing I want to highlight in my report is working with our occupational therapist, Kelly Oram-Rankin. It's been a real pleasure as my first year in pupil services, and really working with her has gotten the pupil services department more excited about the possibilities in the future of her experience. So one of the things that I definitely want to highlight is this month, Kelly is helping to lead the charge to increase our understanding of the different community services that are out in Door County, specifically for some of our intellectually disabled students. So really working, helping me lead the charge and finding out, well, what can Sunshine House offer some of our students that we might not know about right now? Because every community service organization is expanding and changing and growing, and we really want to be on the cutting edge of knowing what those opportunities for our students are. Another organization that we met with just this week was another called Turning Point. And again, it's a new organization. It has a different feel and a different purpose, not different purpose, but just a different avenue for some of our students. It might be different from the Sunshine House. And it just really is just nice to see what these different organizations can, when we partner with them, what they can bring to our students. So she's helping us lead the charge on that, and I'm just really thankful for what she has brought to Sevastopol for many, many years, but I've not worked with her so closely as I did this past year as Pupil Services Director. And then lastly, I'm diving in pretty deep to the gifted and talented. I'm learning a lot. I wanted to present a little bit of my thoughts to you, and they are ever developing and making connections on a daily basis, even during summer. So I have a phone call with the DPI. His name is Mark Schwagel. He is the head honcho, for lack of a better word, right now at DPI for Gifted and Talented. So really trying to dive in and make those connections so I can bring the newest information to Sevastopol and help develop, a beginning program for our students. So,
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Any questions for me?
Lisa, I just had a question around the class, or the Kelly Orn is facilitating the community-based living skills for the intellectually disabled. Have we ever done that before?
Not for a very long
curriculum?
time.
No?
So I will say this, we have done it. It's not been on a consistent basis, but now we're creating a program where it will be a weekly consistent basis. Will happen on a weekly basis with a classroom experience, and then the next day directly going in and practicing what you've learned. So
I
And
appreciate that you're doing that, just because when, in my previous job, that was our number one complaint, is that there wasn't that readiness.
we need,
And folks would graduate.
and every student at every ability needs that readiness, no
Absolutely.
matter where they are. So it's really, it's exciting. And
How
I
many
do need to, I
hours
do
a
need
week?
to say too, it is with collaboration with Leanne Leonardson too. You know, so we're all working together to do it. Kelly is the one that is going to take the students out into the community.
So how many hours will Kelly be working?
I wish I had that because there was an increase in her hours. So she was here 32 hours. I have to go back and look at that. So it's an increase of, I think, 5 or 6 hours a week. And she's hoping to be able to deliver.
She was at 32 hours a week? Is that what you just
Here
said?
at
Something like
Sevastopol,
that?
I have it written down.
Yeah,
as
I know,
is,
I'm
yeah.
just- I know
But
we
it was
met
an
by
increase
month
in
or whatever.
hours, and, you know, it was nice because Kelly came in and presented that with, you know, Mr. Litke and I, and really, you're gonna see an increase of hours. These are the reasons, and they were all justified. I mean, every one of them, it's number one, it's just the number one is the, you know, the hours that she needs in the day to be able to service all of our kids, both with IEPs and 504 plans. Because
Is that
they're,
that bill or does that come out of?
We pay that to
Yeah.
the hospital.
Well, we get a reduced rate from
We
the
get a
hospital.
reduced rate
We
from the
don't
hospital.
pay
So
our full
actually, the
salary.
increased hours are good, but that is an increased bill to us.
Yep.
So, yeah.
Understand.
Is it reimbursement for that?
Somewhat.
Somewhat through Medicare, but only if it's for a,
Medicaid.
or yeah,
Medicaid,
Medicaid,
right.
but only if it's a child that's on a 504 plan, there's no reimbursement
no
for it.
reimbursement.
Mr. Lukey?
Just want to let you know, Thursday, I will be attending the Rotary Club meeting and presenting on the building project to date. And if you know any other groups that want a presentation, because I think people are wondering what's going on when you don't see ground being broke or anything like that, I'm more than willing to do that. We do have the renderings from Bray on our website. They were down for a little bit, but they're back up, so if you know any groups or anyone who's wondering what's happening, things are happening, so I'm more than willing to meet with them, so.
Great. Anything else? I don't have anything. Anything you want to highlight for us on the budget?
Yeah, if you turn to page 27 of the budget, you'll see the.
They don't have the same one.
Oh, yeah, the same one, don't turn to your page 27. I don't know. You have the short form?
Yes.
I don't know what page it is on yours then. But the transfer from Fund 10 to Fund 27 ended up being $905,918.66, which we estimated and planned for 900,000, so we were off by $5,918.66, which is pretty good on a $900,000 item. And the Fund 50 food service, we had anticipated transferring $75,000 to that fund, and the end transfer was $68,004.97, so the food service department came in under what we expected to transfer, and their sum was good for them too, so the two things like to highlight on the budget. And Carl has an audit coming up at the end of this month.
Audit's coming the end of the month. We are getting budget numbers put together. Kyle and I had a meeting tonight or this afternoon and get the budget numbers put together to get the packet put together for the annual meeting, which is scheduled for the 27th, but we have to have it out in the paper by next week. For Cindy and Sue, you had asked me a couple meetings ago about claims for your grant. All claims have been done. They spent them within $50 of what they had. All claims have been submitted, and then we've been, approved for the next 2 years of $75,000, so all claims have been done. We haven't gotten the money for them all yet, but all claims have been submitted, so.
Thank you.
Thank you. Great. Facilities?
Here's a couple of emails for Rock about the time frame for the 1965 gym project and the cafeteria. And then we have a couple delays. Tuesday, well, the floor in the gym is supposed to be sanded down. The company is supposed to show up on Monday, and they're supposed to show up today, and now it's been pushed to next Monday. And the acoustic tiles in the, what is scheduled to be ordered for the cafeteria were ordered on time, but we got word from representative today that they won't be here until September 23rd. And that's a problem because school starts September 3rd, so Rock's had a couple of delays in that, and there's nothing he can do, but we're gonna make some phone calls and see if there's not a whole lot. The bleachers for the high school gym will be here in October. We got a solid date, but it's as solid as the other dates we got for the other items. So it's part of renovations, it's part of what we're doing, so. And then the core planning team met since the last board meeting on the 25th and today. And Dave and Lisa, I'll share what was discussed.
Well, we're well within our contingency still.
Well, budget, we keep asking budget questions. What I see in the staff and you and Rock's team, I mean, they're getting into the details, and this is what the people on the outside that want to know when we're breaking ground. But there is a lot of work being done. You know, I think we went into discussion on generators, where they're putting the trash cans. I mean, all that stuff really has to be worked out.
Wells.
Wells, where the wells are, how we're doing the wells, is the right approach. We're talking flows of wells. It's fun discussions, trust me. But it's important, very important. And so, I mean, it's just, it's just,
Well, we
it's
have,
part of it. You know,
like
it's
when
not
Dave says
glamorous,
wells, we discussed having 2 compared to 1, and 2 ends up 2 wells that are as deep end up being cheaper than one that's really deep. And there's 100 variables like that we're.
Well, we talk pros and cons. I like this one because in the event you have a technical problem on one well, you could have the other well as kind of a backup. So a lot of good discussions on what I call the decision criteria, planning factors, or trades, you know. And we ask, unfortunately, we're asking good questions of the architect and the construction manager, because I think what I like about it is, for what it may work, we're questioning what they're doing, so we're spending their money wisely to the best of the ability of all the team and people asking questions. So it's just a lot of good discussion and debate, and you know, sometimes we realize that, oh, that is the right answer and that's why we're doing it, but now we maybe understand it better.
And sometimes they go back. Last meeting, everybody decided, oh, it's a diesel generator is the way to go. But now we're hedging on that and thinking maybe we should go propane, so there's gotta be some cost analysis on that.
Because some of the maintenance, I kind of poked at a little bit.
That's just one item.
As an example, the diesel maintenance to me is a burden on our team forever in maintenance, but they are going to look at the cost of propane versus diesel and the footprint and all those details, and then the core planning team would be better informed on that decision to then influence the community. So, yeah, it's just the grind. I mean, it's part of the deal. We're making progress, so even on the outside, they don't see dirt moving yet, you know, so.
And when school resumes, the subgroups will be invited back in to meet with Ray again, but they said right now, get in school, get your teachers and in service going, and then they'll go meet with small groups like they did in the past to review the progress they've made. So we know some people are anxious to get back in front of the architects, and they will get their chance again in September, October. So there's a whole nother round of those meetings coming up.
Anything else you want to highlight?
I can't think what else to have.
Well, some of the things we talked about, if anyone's really fired up about this kind of stuff, we talked about warranties on parts that'll come, so they'll transition to the school. So any new parts comes with warranties. There may be a discussion down the road about extended warranties, if they're worth it or not. But that's where Rock's team could weigh into that. You know, this is just some of the, we talked transformers, but that was boring for lots. But we talked about the generator load, what that's going to be, and what's all on there, just so Rock and Kyle and his staff know exactly the critical items, and those can be ultimately finally reviewed. But we're not to the end of that yet. So just look. I actually took notes once in a while. And
something that the staff did. There's a specific carpet type called Kinetics that is going in a lot of the hallways in the classrooms. And it's kind of it's not unknown to us, but they've installed it now in 2 or 3 classrooms in the school to see how that, how they manage that the next year and a half. So lots of stuff like that.
Yeah, that was proactive on Rock's part to have that put in so we can see the product firsthand and
Right.
experience how it holds up.
Okay, Sue, do you have anything important legislatively you want to report on that's not in your written report?
No, I just want to draw your attention to that section in the written report on section 121.01 of state statutes, which talks about the purpose of the state aid formula to cause the state to assume a greater portion of the cost of public education and to relieve the property tax burden. And the Legislative Council now, at the request of DPI, is looking into this. And it certainly affects us because it is looking into, does the state support that we get in categorical aid and the levy credit really meet the language of the statute? And if it doesn't, then that gives us more evidence for a greater reward for us who do not currently receive equalization aid. If the categorical aid and the tax levy credit don't meet the state statute, then we need to have our legislature looking at that funding formula.
Was that discussed some, like maybe 10 years ago, 12 years ago? I recall a discussion on that.
Oh, yeah, going back as far as 1993 when we went into revenue limits. Yeah, you're right. And now it's being revised again at the initiative of the DPI. And their aid coalition is very interested in pursuing this. And Kelly, our legislative liaison, is working with that. We had a phone conference, which I referred to in my update in regard to that. So more to come.
Okay, thank you. We have the welcome picnic. Welcome new staff, welcome back staff picnic. Karen.
Well, this will be the third year that we've done this as a board to welcome back the staff. And I reached out to the owners of the farm to see if they'd be willing to host our event this year, and so they've graciously agreed to do so. So it's going to be Monday the 26th, as we had previously discussed. There is no in-service day on that Monday, correct?
Correct.
So it'll be in the evening after the farm closes down from 5:30 to 7, with dinner being served from 5:30 to 6:30. I've created a flyer that I'll send to Kyle that he can distribute through the staff. And but yeah, it'll be a fun night because, you know, we've got a lot of young kids in our school, and you know what, everybody's a kid at heart when they go to the farm because everyone wants to pet a kitty and feed a chicken. So anyways, we're going to have great weather that night.
Could be perfect.
Right? Sending good mojo. And then if for some reason we don't, we'll have to figure that out at the time. So, but, so yeah, there'll be, same as we've done in the past with burgers and hot dogs and chips and whatnot. There'll be some tables provided there, but we're going to encourage families if they want to bring a picnic blanket or some lawn chairs and whatnot. So, and they'll be their first time all seen together as a whole, and the next day they get to go to in-service, so.
Can we feed the goats?
Of course you can feed the goats. Well, I don't know.
Problem is, it depends on the day, they're not hungry.
It depends on the day, because sometimes they've already met their feeding limit by like 2, so.
Yeah.
That's so cool though.
I know you guys have done that before, so, but.
So, we'll send an email to board members
Great
with an
idea.
opportunity to help that night if you're in town. Any questions about that? Okay.
I'll just pass this around to everyone.
The employee handbook.
The copy you have in your packet has been updated with the changes that have been approved to date.
Is there a motion?
I'll move to approve the employee handbook.
Second.
Are there questions regarding the employee handbook? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Then we have the seclusion and restraint report.
Yep, okay, we had 2 seclusions and 1 restraint. Elementary special education student. Student I, it was just 1 student for the entire school year.
And was that 2000, because the.
Last year.
Okay, because it says 17, 18
Oh,
on
that's
here.
my mistake.
So I just wanted to confirm
Yep,
that was
18,
current
yep,
data. Okay, no worries.
Thank you.
No, that was fine.
Any questions? Is there a motion to approve the student seclusion and restraint report? Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. The bread bid.
Have we ever had this? We've always had this?
No,
Yes,
we
I
dropped
don't
the
remember
milk
ever
bread.
having this.
We dropped the milk bread.
It's always
Dropped the
milk.
Milk is, now
Oh,
it's bread?
that's
Bread,
Really? Okay.
which,
I've never seen this.
which we have one.
Would someone like to
I'll
make a
move to approve
motion?
the bread bid for,
I'll
what is the
second
name of the
that.
company?
Yeah, gold
Hannah Gold.
baking company.
Appropriate.
Is there a second to that?
Second.
All questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Then we have the resignation of Shannon Sheehan. A motion to accept Shannon's resignations.
I move to approve the resignation of Shannon Sheehan.
I will second that with, just a note to say that is a tremendous loss.
And we're gonna do an exit
questions or-
interview like we do with all our staff.
Questions
Is
or comments
there,
from?
is there some kind of penalty for leaving at this late date, or?
Yeah, there's a liquidation of $1,000. So when,
As soon as this gets approved, I'll send her
Under a bill?
yep. Send her an invoice.
Just to add in, obviously I've only known her for this past year, but tremendous loss, and really appreciated how engaged she got the students with the music program, and even the staff. It was nice to participate at the Christmas concert and those kind of things. So tremendous loss.
Absolutely. As we've gone through our interview process, we've realized how lucky we were to have Shannon in our school, the impact that she made with our kids, the growth that our program experienced. Our program is in a great place for a new teacher to come in and take over. Thanking her for all she's done. Just greatly appreciate it.
No other questions or comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Then we have the legal services provider,
Just a picture.
Matter.
Mary Gerbig, our legal counsel, has decided to leave her current law firm, and there's a joint letter from her and Davison Keithall, and we have a choice. She's leaving in the good terms, and usually there's a non-compete, but she's allowed, her firm, since she's been there so long, has a good relationship, is allowing her clients to make the choice of either to stay with the current law firm or to follow her to her new law firm. She's
So
been with
our,
them for 24 years.
And so it's still in the Green Bay area in her offices as far as
She'll be in the
accessibility?
Green Bay area,
Yeah.
yes. Their main office is in Waukesha.
And then billable hours pricing is comparable?
She said it'd be less, but she didn't tell me what it was.
Okay.
And it happened
So-
really sudden because she called me on a Saturday, and it was the next Monday, or 6 days, the school days, or 6 work days later, she was at the new firm. Because she couldn't,
Disclose.
and there's no disclosure till that Friday at the end of the day, so she called me on Saturday, and then it was, yeah.
so the question is, do we wish to remain with the firm? Do we wish to follow Mary Gerbig, or do we wish to look elsewhere?
Well, Mary has the history of the district, and she's been with the district forever.
That's my recommendation. She has a history with Sevastopol, and
She's been, Crummell brought her in, so maybe she's been here about 10 years. Right, and prior to that was Randy Nesbitt.
It wouldn't matter all the data to support the knowledge would be able to transfer. The current law firm doesn't have any hold over the data, right? I'm
no,
not
in fact, they gave me a
knowledgeable.
letter that if I send to them, they will release it to Mary's new firm. All of our
And just to be
documentation.
very clear, your preference, you are comfortable working with her?
Having worked with her for
and
the
you're
last 2
happy with her
years,
support.
I would like to continue to work with her, right?
Continuity of care.
But
Continuity of care.
continuity of care, exactly, yeah.
Would someone like to make a motion
And we're getting a better deal.
about
Yes.
something?
I would so move.
And I will second that, to stick with Mary.
That we stay with
In the new-
Mary
new firm.
Gerbig and her new firm. Questions
What's
or
the
comments?
new firm's name?
Yes, it's,
It's in the letter.
it's,
Davis.
no, it's Bulow, Vetter, Bukima, Olson, and Belt LLC. It's in the letter.
get the
Now,
letter.
we don't actually sign like any long-term contracts or anything like that, so.
No.
If for some reason she's overwhelmed and your support changes, we can revisit.
Right, if after a few months or any point,
I don't
at
expect
any
that.
point we feel, oh my goodness, she's with this new firm and they're pulling her a different direction, or we're not getting the same service we received in the past, I'll bring it back to you.
I know one of the attorneys with that firm, that she's going with, we used him in Green Bay, and he's especially well-known for his work in special education.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Then we have the resignation of Elizabeth Colburn. Is there a motion to accept Elizabeth's resignation?
I'll make the motion to accept the resignation
They're not
of
gonna
Elizabeth
let you,
Colburn.
they're not gonna let you go.
Second.
Questions, discussion?
Similarly to what I had said before, you know, I only had the past year to work with Liz, but she did an awesome job. Just tremendous effort with the kids, and her understanding, compassion, all of those things are sorely going to be missed. So I really appreciate all you've done, and hopefully in our conversation she talked about maybe down the road the possibility of returning if things align. So that would be nice.
And I'm sure the next teacher will appreciate you organizing the classroom.
I'd like to say one thing too. Just in the year that I have worked with you, your heart is huge. You see each kid, you know, each student as a true individual, and I'm going to miss that. I'm going to miss that. So I wish you the best of luck, and I hope to see you back very soon.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. That concludes our regular business for tonight, so I'll take a motion to convene to executive session.
I will so move.
Second.
Karen? Aye. Dave?
Aye.
Aye.
Cindy?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. We are 8:55. Yeah, to order then at 9:48 PM. Would someone like to make a motion on the music teacher item?
I will move to approve the new music teacher, Kim Souther.
Second.
Questions or discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. We would look for a motion on the compensation memo.
I move to seek legal advice and revisit in September regarding the post-employment memo.
I'll second.
And to clarify, that is not the memo for the handbook, that is the,
Yeah,
that is the employee request.
employee request.
That's the 2014 issue we're
Yep, right.
revisiting.
Yep.
Okay. Questions or discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. And then a motion on the compensation memo that will go into the employee handbook,
The retirement announcement version.
the retirement announcement.
I would move to approve the retirement announcement with the modifications that were made this evening.
Second.
Questions or discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. We do have the annual meeting. I don't have the date here, August
Day after.
27th, Tuesday.
27th,
Day
August
after the
27th.
picnic.
I don't know if they'll do a building tour before.
Well, Myron is putting together.
Oh.
Yeah, they're gonna have,
So about the new project,
Okay.
and we can give tours of anyone who wants it at 6 o'clock, sure.
And then our regular school board meeting will be on September 19th.
Okay, the regular school board meeting on the 19th, that's the same, that Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, I have my WASDA conference in Madison.
So you want to change that?
Well, either that or I won't go to conference, but I'd like to go and do my thing with my.
we'll go to the conference, we'll meet without you.
Go for it, Jay, go for it. You can do that.
See if we can actually
Jay,
do
we'll
that.
let him give you
We can see
all
if we
of
can
his
actually
notes
do
for
that,
the
yeah,
meeting.
yeah.
So do you have an alternative
Yeah, what's your
suggestion?
The 26th?
The 26th, pushing it back a week would be probably good with school just starting up the Is that okay with everyone?
Everybody can
By
make it on the
pushing it back,
26th?
does that cause any conflicts with new hires or any of these decisions that we need to research for by pushing it back that late? You know what I'm saying?
No, if I have to call you up and,
Okay.
if there's something that's emergency that we need to meet
Yep.
earlier,
Okay.
has more urgent, and it's emergency, but I should say urgency,
Right.
then we would
Have another meeting?
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay, so then we'll move that meeting to September 26th, the regular school board meeting. With no other business, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned at 9:51 PM.